How much horsepower does a horse have? So before estimation of horsepower for horse, first see how this unit horsepower invented. The term horsepower was originally coined by James Watt, an engineer who was looking for a way to market his steam engines. He measured the power output of his engines by comparing them to the amount of work a horse could do, and determined that a horse could do about 33,000 foot-pounds of work per minute. This became the standard measurement for horsepower. Let us see how actually he calculated this horsepower from horse. James Watt calculated that, over an average day's work, a horse could turn a 24 ft mill wheel around 2.5 times per minute. Power is defined as the work done per unit time, where work is a measure of energy transferred, calculated by multiplying the force applied by the distance traveled. Watt, who is the namesake for the unit of power in the metric system, estimated the amount of force that the horse applied to turn the mill wheel. Using this, he then calculated how much energy it applied, and therefore the power. Watt knew that the number he got was only an estimate, so he chose to round his calculation for his final result. By Watt's definition, 1 horsepower is 33,000 foot-pounds per minute. This is approximately equal to 746 watts. Modern car manufacturers use both Watt's definition and a similar quantity known as metric horsepower. Metric horsepower is defined as the power required to raise a 75 kilogram mass against gravity over a distance of 1 meter in 1 second. This works out to about 735 W. So come to straight answer now. How much horsepower does a horse have? Watt's estimates were fairly accurate. 1 horsepower is roughly the average rate of work a healthy draft horse can do over a full day. In 1993, biologists R. D. Stevenson and R. J. Wasserseg estimated the maximum power output a horse can muster. Were they told sustainable mechanical power per kilogram of muscle is between 100 and 200 W. Using the lower bound, they calculated a theoretical peak performance of 18,000 W, or around 24 horsepower. Looking at data from the 1925 Iowa State Fair, they found a much lower real-world value. Over a short period of time, they calculate, a horse can exert up to 14.9 horsepower. Do you know? How much horsepower does a human have? On average, a healthy human can produce about 1.2 horsepower in a brief increment. Indefinitely, a human can sustain 0.1 horsepower. On average, a person can produce about 0.27 horsepower. For a few seconds, an incredibly in-shape athlete can produce up to 2.5 horsepower. The actual amount of horsepower a person has will vary by how in shape they are and what physical activity they are doing. That is it for today. Leaving a question for you here, need answering comments. How many cc are in 1 horsepower? Subscribe Farm Desire for farming hints.